Hello, this is Gray Hughes. I'm doing a video on Angela Barlow, or Angie Barlow as she goes by. And Angela went missing on October 26, 2016 on Harcourt Road in Indianapolis, Indiana. There's Indianapolis again. It's actually very close to the case I worked on the other day. And on June 20th, 2017, her body was found. So about 8 months after she went missing, her body was found from an anonymous tip. Okay, now while doing the research of this, I realized that other YouTubers have made videos on this, but I'm going to make a video on it, and I'm going to let you know what I think happened based on the information that is available to the public. Okay, so let's get started and take a look at the Angela Barlow case. Even though we know that Angela has been found, sometimes it's a little bit helpful just to get an overall picture of her by looking at the missing persons flyer. All right, so let's take a look at that right now. Angela Barlow was age 23, 5 foot tall, 140 pounds, and she was last seen at Harcourt Road, Indianapolis, Indiana. Now that is where she went to a private party. Now Angela was an exotic dancer, and occasionally she would dance at a private party for individuals or an individual. And that's what happened in this case. Okay, now let's get into the specifics of that right now. Angela was messaged by somebody to go to a private party, and the person messaging didn't ever use their real name or anything like that. So Angela's friend, who Angela shares everything with, and that friend's name is Mona Jackson, she was concerned and didn't want Angie to go to this private performance. She didn't want her to go. She was nervous about it. And Angie was texting back and forth with this individual, and they were talking about what she would wear and so forth. And at the very end, she's given the address on the text message, and then she forwards that text message to her friend Mona. That's her only form of protection, basically. Normally, someone will bring someone with them, that maybe they wait out in the car or something like that, to make sure that they're safe. That didn't happen in this case. Now here is the actual text message right here that Angie forwarded to her friend. Apparently it says Diamond here, but her name is actually Mona Jackson. So maybe she's just going by a different name. I don't know. But here's the forwarded screenshot she sent. It says, "What color are you wearing? I want our panties and bra to match." She probably meant our, like O-U-R. "Yes, you can get naked with me. We'll have so much fun. I have multiple color, but a lot of black outfits." Yes, very excited. "Anything black and red?" And then the address is given out. "Yes, I have a couple black and red outfits." "Okay, we're going to get it together. You get my address?" And "Yes, I did. So I will see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I will call so. I don't know if there's any more on there. "Doing a private party at this address just in case I go missing. LOL." So that's the message she sent to her friend Mona, in conjunction with the screenshot here. So it's kind of a cryptic message right there saying, "Doing a private party at this address just in case I go missing, LOL." Well, that's exactly what happened. She went missing. Now let's talk about the actual party itself. When Angela got to the party, she must have been having a decent time, because at 11:45, Angela took a Snapchat image from inside the bathroom, and she appears to be enjoying herself. There is nothing going on. All right, now the next day, the mother didn't hear anything from her, and actually went over to her house, and her dog was there and hadn't been taken care of. And at that point, They knew she was missing and that something was going on. And so the police were notified and they started to do an investigation. And what happened is that the investigation led to a surveillance camera at the party, because remember, her friend had the address. And her friend actually went to the address the next day when things didn't seem to be right. And it just happens to be pretty near where she lived. So she went there, jumped over the fence, and went to the apartment that Angela was supposed to be at, and it was completely empty. It's crazy. I mean, it sounds like something out of some sort of a spy novel at that point. But the police went out there, and they were able to look at the surveillance footage, and they found some pretty interesting stuff on there. Let's take a look at it. Okay, before we take a look at the surveillance footage, let's see where Angela Barlow was when she was at that party. Okay, it was this apartment complex, Landmarks apartment, and it appears to be private. And let's see if there's more than one exit here. I haven't actually taken a look at this side. It doesn't look like you can get to street view on this end over here. It's private. Maybe right here. Let's take a look. Okay, so there is a gate right there. And let's take a look at the surveillance we're going to take a look at. You see a gate, some bushes, and there's a little bit of length after it. So let's go back to street view. Yeah, that looks like that could be it right there, actually. You see that? You got two bushes, smaller bush, and the gate. And let's go back. Well, you got two bushes, smaller. Is there a little one in between there? Do we have a flag? Does look like there's a smaller bush there. I don't see the flag. The street view is from November 2017. So it is around the time. Let's see if we can see any kind of surveillance camera. Hard to say. If there's a surveillance camera in there, that's where it would be to get that shot. Alright, so there's a square item there and then straight up. I know some people hate when I do this to try to verify things, but I like to do it. So let's just, I think this might be, there might be a surveillance camera hidden in there, or maybe that is a surveillance camera. I just haven't seen one that looks like that before. But it appears to be filming down, and this looks like where the cars might have come out right there. Alright, but before we leave here, let's go take a look at the other exit down here and see if it looks similar at all. Yeah, so this isn't, that last one looks like to be the right one. This doesn't have the same bushes and so forth. So I think that's going to be it. Alright, so now let's go take a look at the surveillance footage. Here is the surveillance footage. You see Angie's car right here, and then Raven's car right here. That's what they determined after looking at the surveillance footage and looking at the license plate as it drove by. They were able to trace it back to Raven, a person who is not a friend of Angie. And this is Angie right here. That's her car. And if you look up here at the date, it says 10/27/2016. But if you notice, police say that the last known sighting of her is 10/26. That's the Snapchat image. Now, there is absolutely no proof at all that she is alive or is in this car right here. So at this point, the car will pull out. It would be nice to have the surveillance footage to know what direction, but I'm thinking they took a right here. And this is Raven Miller and her boyfriend, Baron McCullough. Two people that are not friends with Angie, and in fact, Angie would never do something with Raven based on their history. So it's obvious that something just isn't right. All right, now the people that you were just shown right there in that video. And their names again are Raven Miller and Baron McCullough. Raven Miller is actually someone who works with Angie, and they don't like each other at all. They don't get along, and that's not somebody that she would have went over and done a dance for. So it appears to be a setup that had her come over, and something happened to her. Now, when you see that surveillance footage, you see her car going first, and you see a car right behind her that make it through the same swinging gate open. So in places like that, it takes a car key to get in, but when you're leaving, they open automatically. So you drive up, and then it opens, and it stays open for a little bit. So that car left right behind her. And I believe that inside that apartment, there were people that she didn't know. And that's why you see her on the Snapchat image right here, looking excited and happy, because her enemy from work wasn't there. Now we see her car go first, and then another car right behind her. I believe that Angie was dead already at this point, and put in perhaps the trunk of her own car. One of the other two people were driving her car, and the other person was following. And then at some point, they perhaps handed the car off to another set of people who then disposed the body and were given compensation. All right, now let's discuss that angle of the case. Okay, so keep in mind that Raven here was asked by the police later, after they figured out who they were. So they were actually able to determine who they were by looking at the license plate of the second car. And that's how they found out that she isn't really a friend whatsoever of Angie. So this is Raven right here. And when they asked her about the incident, they said, yeah, she was there, but we never left the house. Well, that's a complete lie, right? Her car left. Now, the police are saying, well, we can't prove she was in that car. Well, I mean, then didn't you follow up then with another question and say, well, your car was leaving? Or did they keep that close to their vest? And if they were keeping that close to their vest, why is it now out on shows on TV? Okay, now apparently these two people are missing. They haven't been able to find them, or hadn't been able to find them at that point. I don't know if they've been discovered since then, but they kind of just disappeared after the initial investigation. Okay, now something interesting is that an arrest was made in Muncie, Indiana, months after the incident, in Angie's hometown. Okay, so Muncie, I don't know if it's Muncie or Muncie, Indiana. I might completely be butchering that name, but in her hometown, there was an arrest made of an individual named Michelle Brown, who had been withdrawing money from Angela's grandmother's account. And this is information that Angela would have access to, apparently. And Michelle claims, oh, I just guessed at the account number. I had the routing number, but I just threw out a guess, and by God, it just showed up on the Angela's grandmother's account. Okay, now they also arrested these other three people that were, I guess they were all four together, and they found other information on the other three, and they were arrested. And I don't know what their status is today, if they're still in jail, but they were all arrested, and apparently they're still investigating this case. Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, they have found Angie's body, and it was found by an anonymous tip, and we do not know what that anonymous tip is, or who it came from, and how it came. Because anybody who actually knew where that body is had to have had first-hand knowledge. It couldn't be from somebody explaining to somebody, oh, I was at a bar and a guy said it was over here. It just wouldn't work based on where it is. I think it actually might be one of these four people that actually knew, and the police are saying an anonymous tip to cover the person who said it so that they won't be outed as a snitch, and snitches get in trouble. Let's now take a look at where Angie's body was discovered. She was discovered in an area described as 43rd Street between North Emerson Avenue and North Arlington Avenue, right here. That's how they described it. So I had to look at the map, and I was looking at this street, and it didn't really seem likely. Then I saw this one, and I saw this clump tree area there, and I thought, oh, I bet that's it. And then I was able to actually prove it by looking at some images. Now here's a more recent image that I found. It's still from back at the time. But if you look, here's a brick house and maybe a white mailbox here and a driveway. Now, there's people that don't like when I do this, but I do this for a specific reason. Is because a lot of times I get people that come on and go, hey, you got the wrong house, Craig. You got the wrong house. Oh, you got the wrong this. You got the wrong that. And so now I'm used to just proving all the different locations as I'm going. Okay, so if it offends you, get over it. All right, here's the street right here. And when you go to the end, this is where I was predicting. If street view would just work. Now there's the white mailbox there. It looks like at the time this house was abandoned. But it, obviously the camera is at a lower angle. There's the white mailbox. You see this little light, the white mailbox. Here's a little lamp thing right there. Street view here though is 2011. Okay, so we're not going to get, it's not going to look exactly the same because, things change. People do landscaping and so forth. But as you can see, that light pole there. And this white mailbox are the same as this, and the big tree right there. It's just lower so you're not seeing the tree. This light here is pretty high in the air. But now let's watch one of the local news shows at the time, and we can get a little bit better information as well.
County coroner has identified the body found Tuesday in an East Side neighborhood. Wish TV confirming it is 23-year-old Angela Barlow. She disappeared back in October. Police found her body on East 43rd between Arlington and Emerson. 24-hour News 8's Julian Grace just talked with her mother. He joins us live from Ellenberger Park tonight. Julian.
Well, Brooke, let me first set the scene here for you on why we're here at Ellenberger Park. This is the reason why Angela Barlow's parents wanted to meet at a neutral location to talk about their daughter, and this is where we conducted our interview earlier today. Now, you may recall detectives got that big break yesterday from a tip that Angela Barlow's body may be near 43rd and Emerson. That's where they found her body. Let's go back to the scene yesterday. Investigators were all over the place. Officers went to the scene where they located the body. Now, around 2:30 this afternoon, the coroner officially determined the body was Barlow's. According to reports, Barlow disappeared in October. Her abandoned vehicle was found in November. Since then, officers searched an apartment complex where Barlow went for a party. Then, just last month, police questioned a series of people in Muncie with her disappearance. Today, we talked to Angela Barlow's parents, and they wanted to reflect on the life of their daughter.
What a fun person she was. She was my baby girl. When you met her, she just had so much energy about her and so much life that it's hard to believe that that's gone.
So what is next in this investigation? Well, so far police have no suspects, but they have not given us an indication if an arrest is pending or soon to happen. We will continue to follow up with IMPD to get the latest information as far as that is concerned. Now, coming up all new at 6 o'clock, Angie's mother, Christina, she was very firm when she says that she wants to make sure Angie's murder will not be in vain. I'll tell you why she feels that way and why she's so certain that that won't happen. All new at 6 o'clock. For now, reporting live on the east side, Julian Grace, 24-hour News 8.
Julene, thank you. Again, here's a look into the timeline of the investigation into Angie Barlow's disappearance. She was last seen in October at an apartment complex near 79th and Ditch. Police found her car in November, a few miles away, and later that month, I-Team 8 found documents indicating Angie may have been put in the trunk of her car and taken from the complex. Last month, police searched a home in Muncie in connection to the case, but they did not identify any suspects or make any arrests.
Our coverage of this breaking news continues right now at WishTV.com. We'll be following this story all night long and bringing you any latest developments during our 6 p.m. newscast and, of course, later on tonight at 10 and 11.
Okay, well, there you have it. And if you noticed on that clip there, you could actually see this fence that's back here. I think they actually broke down the fence because it was really old and rotting so they could get vehicles back there. All right, so that's it. So you know what? You have to ask yourself, how would a tipster know that the body was back there? It's so specific that you would have had to have firsthand knowledge. I don't even think anybody sitting around, like I was saying before, at a bar, or you overheard somebody would say, oh yeah, it's over there on 43rd Street at the end of the... I mean, nobody talks like that. Okay, so this person actually might have been there. And I don't know why there isn't an arrest at this point. I really don't. I mean, I guess it's possible that it really was truly an anonymous tip, just so that maybe the family could get closure. Maybe they were feeling guilty and called it in so that the body could be found. I don't know. Okay, but here is my theory on the case. I believe that Angela Barlow was lured to the party by Raven Miller and Baron McCullough, probably Raven Miller. She was probably really upset at Angela for something that happened in their past, as we know that they were actually enemies. Angela would not have gone to that party. When she got to the party, the private party, she went in. And as you can see in this picture right here, she seems to be having a decent time. So the people that answered the door were likely not Raven Miller or Baron McCullough. Sometime at the party, I think she was actually killed and put in the trunk of the car. Now, Raven says that Angela got 3 phone calls while at the party and then left. But here's the thing, is when Angela's car is seen leaving, Raven's car is right behind it. And so Raven Miller says she never left the house, nor did Baron McCullough. And now that I'm thinking about this, I guess that is possible, because what if the people that disposed of her body were the ones driving both vehicles, and they were the ones that let her come into the home and make her feel comfortable because it wasn't Raven or Baron. So perhaps the drivers of those vehicles are really not Raven and Baron, although they're the masterminds behind this whole thing. Now, these people drive Angela's car through the gate. Now, the person behind is so close that they can actually make it through the gate with Angela's car. At this time, I think Angela's body is in the vehicle. Now, the vehicle was driven all the way over to the location on this street right here, East 43rd Street. And the body was then dumped back here, and at the time this house was abandoned. Then they took the car and partied with it for a while. I mean, there's cigarette butts and all kinds of stuff inside that vehicle. It was completely trashed when the police found it a month later. They also had all of her ID and information that Angela had, and perhaps that's how some people accessed Angela's grandmother's bank accounts. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised one bit if one or all 4 of these people here are involved somehow in the disappearance of Angela Barlow and then her murder. And unfortunately, Angela's case hasn't been solved yet, or at least a case hasn't been presented to a grand jury. Maybe they're still looking for that one knockout piece of information to put the nail in the coffin in this case. Okay, so I think this is an interesting case. There isn't a ton of information, but there's enough information to put together a likely scenario. The fact that she went to a party, a private party, where she was going to dance explicitly for a female, and Raven, whoever sent her the message, was claiming that she wanted Angie to dance with her for her husband. So they were both going to dance together for her husband. But it turns out that the car leaving that house was actually one of Angela's enemies. So how can this not be related to them? And apparently they went missing. Raven and the McCullough guy. They are nowhere to be found. Apparently, at the time these articles are written. I do not know where they are now. Okay? I haven't found any current information like within the last month or something like that. All right. So I think that's all I've got for you on this case. I think it's really interesting, and I'm hoping that an arrest is made soon. It's been almost a year now since her body was discovered. You would think with the information that they have now that they could easily make an arrest in this case. But apparently they don't have that one piece that they need to secure a conviction. Okay, so until next time, everybody, be safe out there.